Hi, it's George Nordhaus. Welcome to Monday Morning. Well, 6 months ago, you heard a little bit about Google coming into the insurance business, and 6 months has passed, and in this business, that's pretty doggone fast. And I talked to Marty Agather with the Trusted Choice organization, and he was written some articles on what's happened on it, and it really fascinated me. So I said, will you present it and give us an update here? And he agreed to do it, which is just great. And he's got threat or opportunity. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll get into that a little bit. But let me tell you who Marty is, or a little bit about him, if I may. He is with Trusted Choice. He is the senior vice president for client development, and he's been a lot. He was an agency. He was in an agency for some time. I didn't realize that. Where was that, Marty? Where were you in the agency?
That was suburban Chicago, George. We were what I call a mid-sized regional organization. We had about 45 staff, and at the time about $3.5 million in revenue.
That's pretty nice sized agency. That would be good. Well, what in the world is happening? I'm going to let you tell us what's going on. Okay.
Sure. So when we talk about Google getting into the business of insurance, we should be very specific what Google's stated intentions are. I've done some speculation on what their unstated intentions might be.
I bet.
But primarily Google, the name of the product itself is called Google Compare Auto. So I figured that today we'd start with a brief discussion of why Google makes that very clear distinction about compare. Mm-hmm. So I think most of our audience will be familiar with shopping sites, and so Google makes a very clear distinction between shop versus compare. And so shopping sites like Amazon or eBay would be the two big names that you might recognize. When you go, say, George, I don't know, you might want to buy a book, or I may need a new hedge clipper, right? So I might go to Amazon or eBay, and I do some research, and I get a bunch of options for
absolutely
books,
Kindle,
novels.
My Kindle.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
your Kindle.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So so let's say we were shopping for a Kindle, right? So we'd have an opportunity to see a bunch of listings, and then we could say, buy with one click, or just go through the normal process. Maybe you're buying that Kindle to ship it off to a relative, so you're not going to ship it to yourself, so you do a slightly different shopping process.
Right.
But those processes take place within that specific location. So when you shop at Amazon, you buy from Amazon, even if it's fulfilled through somebody else. So I tend to cook. I like to cook. So I buy different culinary gadgets, and that might come from, just making up a name, kitchens.com is actually the people who ship me that knife if I need a new knife, but I'm still buying it from Amazon.
Right.
Compare and contrast that with what we'd call a comparison site, and these are a little less familiar maybe to our audiences, just because of the dominance of Amazon and eBay. But there are organizations out there like NextTag and Shopzilla, and they try to do the exact same thing as the shopping site, and I'm going to show you in my next slide here. This is the results of Shopzilla. I just clicked on digital cameras to give you an idea. But so while this looks a lot like maybe Amazon, that's obviously not quite as clean. But what you can see here is I've got two different listings for this Canon EOS 1D. Here's one here, and here's one here. Okay, this one is being delivered by 42nd Street Photo. Okay, and this one is being offered by Crutchfield. And again, you'd say, well, geez, Marty, that's just about what happens at Amazon. But the difference is that you see the button here? go to the store, I'm actually, if I click this, I'm actually going to leave Shopzilla, and I'm going to end up at 42nd Street Photo. So the whole idea of a compare site is we don't do the shopping in the product. Once we make a decision, we go to the actual seller of the product's website to contract that product. And when we look at Google Compare, that's exactly what's happening. So after you run through the quoting process and you see your options, and they bring up some of their carrier partners, then when you want to buy, you actually then go out to the Mercury site or potentially an independent agent for one of these other carriers. And that's sort of the process that they have envisioned.
Got it.
All right. So, so the question is, how does it work, right? So again, we've got all of these items, and what does Google really have going on in the background? They have a partnership with Compare Now. They started in Great Britain a number of years ago, and so they partnered with Compare Now, who has the comparative rating product. So in the same way that any of our listeners might have a comparative rating product in their office, that when a client calls in and they want to do a quote, they put the data in and they get back quotes from the carriers they represent. That's what Compare Now has built. In addition, Google has done some work to connect directly to the back ends of some specific carriers, captive agency companies that might not have provided rates and links to independent rating companies. So Compare Now is their rating platform and the routing way to do it. Okay, they have worked with an agency out in California known as CoverHound to receive independent agency carrier appointments, and also to have producers who are licensed in California. You may be aware that Google started the process in California. Right. And so because CoverHound has licensed agents, now they are able to talk to a consumer on the phone and close the deal because they're a licensed insurance agent in the state of California. And of course, Google is very, very good, gets a lot of traffic for searches. People like to use Google because the results are very, very effective. Sure. So, how does Google get traffic? Well, this is the science of search engine optimization and how you get to page one of Google. But there's a couple of different ways, and one of the things that you do, and this is actually a slide from Google England before they had launched, but just to show you what's going on. So typically in a search result, right? So what do we search for car insurance? We got 166 million different results. Okay,
isn't that wild?
It is crazy. These top three here are ads. Yeah. And over here are ads. Okay. Right. But the most expensive ads are these ones. And then down here is where what Google believes the best organic, what's the best page on the internet for car insurance in England when you do the search, and that would be this website right here. But the instructive part to see here is that we've got a name that we all know here in the U.S., actually two names that we know here, are buying ads to be at the top of this. And the way this works, it's kind of complicated, but you bid based upon the time of day, what day of the week it is, and if you bid enough money, your ad can go right here. And insurance is the most expensive advertising on the web, and these companies are spending boatloads of money to get up here. But obviously, they can make money doing it because they continue to do it. Right. But the instructive piece here is look what Google is doing. Google has actually inserted their site, Compare, into the three ads up top. And notice how the view has changed a little bit. So whereas these guys just get the typical, here's the link to the website and some nice text that that the advertiser believes is going to help the consumer pick them. Google now gives, look at, they've got little logos of the companies they're working with. So they are working to try to, look at, and even here, enter your registration number and start a quote, right? So they've sort of gamed the system because it's their game. They can kind of change the rules for themselves, and they have. All right? So that's how they begin to get that. So I did some little work. The day that this was released was March the 15th. We'll see that in another slide here. So immediately I ran out and I wanted to do a rate for myself, okay? So I did some stuff. The interesting thing, I'm not going to walk you through the whole rating process, but the interface is very clean. They've spent some good time, right? One of the things that Google is very good at is making sure that the consumer is well taken care of. So they spend a lot of time to do that. So this interface is very clean. Do you own this car? So I said, no, I've financed my car. The thing that I love that's interesting is if you have a question about why you're answering that question, then they give you these nice little dialog boxes, and look what it's telling you. It says it doesn't affect how much we charge you, but if you lease it and you have a claim, those guys are going to get paid because it's their car, not yours, okay? So it also may require you to have a certain level of liability coverage. We know many times a lesser of a car wants a minimum of 100, 300, right? So there you have it. So anyway, I did all that process, bang. Here are some results that I got back from insurance companies, okay? And so now look at this one. This is the general, and it tells us what we can do. It says the same coverage, so I picked some coverage rates. This price is for a lower level of coverage. Maybe they wouldn't offer 100, 300. I don't remember anymore what the heck this was, okay? But now look at this. CSE Insurance Group, rated A, but it's sold by CoverHound. So if you pick this one, you're going to go off-site. You're not going to, but you're going to talk to an agent at CoverHound, rather than here you're talking to the general. When you click the button, you're going to end up going direct. You can't see off to the side of the screen over here is actually details about whichever quote you select. And so anyway, all right. Wow. This is what I find fascinating. So what you can see here is that I quoted this on the 5th of March. That was the date that they went live in the U.S. and California. But I came back to this site last week in prep for working with you, George, and it remembered all of the quotes I had done. And guess what? If I want to start again, very quickly. So again, it's all about user experience with Google and making sure that that they're doing that. So that's sort of the process. What we've heard from Google is that they are quickly going into an additional 3 states, and they intend to be in about half of the states by the end of 2015.
Wow. Money's wonderful, isn't it? Do anything you want. God, it's amazing.
Yeah. So the question is, who's let's assume that Google is successful, because I don't think we can take it on sort of faith that they will be successful, because we've seen some organizations come into the insurance industry that have not been successful. So but if we assume that they're going to be successful, the question is who loses in this? Are they going to disrupt the business as we know it? So I think there are a few takeaways that we could talk about here. One of them is, and quite frankly, my introduction, you said that I'm working for an organization called TrustedChoice.com. Our reason to exist is to help connect online shoppers for insurance to independent agents. That's our mission. And so we do that because, and we are we showed that slide earlier of the results of an insurance search on Google. We do that very well, and we are on page 1 for over 2,700 insurance search terms. and we are actually in positions number 1, 2, or 3, meaning Google believes my page on TrustedChoice.com is the best, either the best in position 1, second best, or third best of 100 million or more pages on whatever type of insurance we're talking about. We're in positions 1 through 3 for over 1,500 insurance search terms.
Wow.
Okay, so that's a great thing. That's how we get people to our site.
Sure.
However, if Google is competing with me, it makes it harder and more expensive for me to continue, because at some point Google's result they will start to see their pages as the best site for insurance on the internet, right? So that means everybody's going to get pushed down. Same thing with advertising, although TrustedChoice.com does not advertise. We do a little bit, but certainly not like with the budget amounts that the big players play. It's going to get more expensive for those insurance companies that are trying to dominate search, primarily the captive agency companies, direct writers. It's going to get more expensive for them to advertise on Google, because where there used to be 3 spots, at some point there may only be 2 spots when Google takes the third one. So that's going to be tough on insurance companies. I think direct writers and captive companies have a real there's a good reason for them to want to participate on Google. They've got potentially in-house call centers all set up that they could go to. So I think a loser in this could be captive agencies. So if that Allstate guy down the street may see less business because people that are shopping and want to buy Allstate may find it easier to go online and shop with Google and get their policy direct through Allstate.com. So I think they're exposed. What about us in the independent agency?
How about it? You said opportunity. I want to know where opportunity comes in. Well, go ahead. Talk about that. Tell me about opportunity.
So, okay, well, let's go to that one then. All right, so opportunity. So one of the things that we've heard from Google is that 61% of the business that has closed in Google, that they've closed via people searching on Google and using Google Compare Auto, has been closed not with bind online, click a button, yes, I bought a policy, here's my credit card number. 61% of it, they actually talk to somebody on the phone before they transact the business. So Google understands that there's a real opportunity for direct contact, because insurance is one of those things where we want to just make sure it's exactly right. So people are still hesitant. It's not the same as us buying that Kindle online, right? We know what a Kindle is. If it's the right model, we push the button because we like the price. Insurance is obviously a little more esoteric than that, and people are concerned because they aren't insurance experts, so they want to talk to an expert. This provides an opportunity for independent agencies.
You mentioned that you met with Google. I want to hear about that.
Sure. So Google has been very, they understand that this is a big opportunity for them, and they also understand that the independent channel has great brand recognition, great products, and a distribution system that's second to none. And because of that, they've reached out to technology vendors, some who are already participating in their initiative now, and they're also looking for additional partners. And so in that process, we have had a chance to meet with Google a number of times, but most recently we had the opportunity to bring the Google team to present to the Big Eyes Trusted Choice Board.
Mm-hmm.
So the IIABA
Mm-hmm.
Has a board that sits over and manages the efforts of the Trusted Choice brand,
Right.
and so we brought them in, and they had a discussion sort of talking about the opportunities for the independent agency channel to become engaged in this adventure.
It's amazing to me.
So at present, to be honest, George, we're not sure that whether this is a threat or an opportunity for our channel. Google is obviously they play for keeps, and so we are proceeding cautiously. We are continuing to have ongoing dialogue to understand how Google would like to engage with the independent channel. We've got some carriers who would be interested if the structure of the deal was appropriate, but those carriers are very sensitive to making certain that their independent agency force continues to have a role to play. And so that's where the discussions are centered right now. It's too early to say which way they're going to go, but we are looking forward to continuing those dialogues.
Yeah, the fact they're even talking to you, I mean, that says something. That's congratulations, I think is the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so it's a testament to the foresight of the association that they saw this as a challenge 6-7 years ago, and they funded the original organization that brought ultimately Trusted Choice to the forefront. And so if we want to wrap up on the Google discussion, we can talk a little bit about Trusted Choice.
Yeah, go right ahead. It's time. Let's do it.
All right. So TrustedChoice.com. This is not going to be an extensive overview, but I just wanted to show the audience a little bit about what we've got out there. If you have not gone to TrustedChoice.com, I would encourage you to go and look. What you can see, the latest thing that we've developed, it's been out about 6 months now, is we've seen a lot of interest in business insurance. That the trends are that more and more business owners are looking for information. We do not provide quotes for business insurance or anything of that sort. Again, our job is to connect an insurance shopper with an independent agent. Again, our longer-term effort has been on the personal line side. On the personal line side, we can either have the consumer look up and find an agent in their neighborhood, or actually get a quote in, I believe, 48 of the 51 insurance jurisdictions in the United States. You can get a quote from multiple insurance companies. And so the whole idea is, we know that people are online, again, not so much to actually buy, but they are gathering information. So to help them gather information, we have written almost 3,000 pages of consumer-focused information on all sorts of different insurance topics. Coverages. So here you can see this is just in our homeowners insurance section, so we've got various different topics. You can see we've got flood, we've got discounts, and all of this has been organized so that Google looks at this and knows exactly what we're talking about, and that's how we get these pages to the top of the rank. And then when it's time, if you want to quote or to find an agent, you give us your zip code, and then we present you with potential agencies, and you can find in more detail about the agency, because the whole concept here is, we as insurance professionals know that insurance is more than price. many of our competitors, they try to focus that cost is the only thing that works. That's the only thing that matters. But we know that if we can move the discussion away from price, there's a whole range of things that matter to a consumer as much, if not more than price. We just have to get them there. So the profile for the agency is designed to do that. We talk about trust with logos for the agency, but here's one thing that's very very instructive is we've got the ability for testimonials that have been written about the agency to be shown to a potential new customer. And so at such time as this consumer decides, you know what, I'd really like to work with this agency, they can click the Contact Us button, and they're off to the races working with that agency.
I got a couple of questions, okay?
Sure.
Number one, you got Clark Martinson here, which is a really good agency. I've known him for years. But now what if you had 5 agencies in Keene, New Hampshire?
Certainly. So I've sort of jumped past, but there would be a screen that would show, if I've searched on the Keene zip code 034331,
yep.
I would get a screen that would have those agencies listed, and then I could look at this detail about Clark Mortensen and then potentially the Smith agency to see which one had services. So under this personal insurance tab here, it lists the carriers, the lines of business they like to write. Same thing on commercial insurance.
Got it.
Our company has pictures of employees. One of the features we say is, get those employee pictures up there, because you never know when one of your employees goes to church or is on the school board with the prospect that's looking. So it's a way to create a familiarity and a differentiator for each agency.
But they're not using their website. It's not just their regular website.
I'm sorry. Well, so this is not their website. No, if we want to go to Clark Mortensen's
website, I know how to get there, but but they do this specifically.
Yes, with us, correct.
Yeah, I understand. Why don't you use a website? Wouldn't that be as easy? Or?
Well, one of the things that we know from the Future Agent study is a significant number of agencies, believe it or not, George, still today do not have websites.
I can't believe it, but I know you're right, but I can't believe it.
Yeah. And so the other thing is that what we tried to do is we tried to create sort of a common look and feel, so that for again, remember who we're building this for. I mean, ultimately it's for the agencies and carriers that we work with.
Yeah.
But primarily the consumer has to be able to. And so if every website had, some websites were very detailed and other websites were just a brochure, then the consumer has a hard time even making an evaluation. So by creating a standardized look and feel, that allows the consumer to quickly, I see what this agency has that agency doesn't.
So you have about 2,700 or something, I don't know what the number you said, out of the however many thousand, the big eye, because it costs money, and a lot of agencies don't want to be on this, or they can't, or I know because your job is to get more agencies on it, obviously, I would think. What's it cost them?
Sure. Okay. So every Big I member is eligible and has a listing on TrustedChoice.com. We call those basic listings. So essentially, it's not what we're looking at here. What we're looking at here is the subscribed form. So for this, it's if you want the personal insurance, and then you would be receiving referrals that are coming in under the personal lines. That's $49 per month.
Oh, nothing. That's nothing.
Now, if you wanted commercial insurance alone, so you don't really make a big effort to write personal, commercial insurance by itself is $79 per month, and if you want both, it's $98 per month.
God, less than $100 a month. I mean, why in the heck wouldn't you only need one sale.
That is absolutely accurate. So and we've actually we've had one agency on the coast in Washington State who has now written over $250,000
oh my gosh
business from referrals from TrustedChoice.com. So it's a real opportunity. Now, of course, traffic and the referrals vary by state, by location. So we can talk about. There are no guarantees, unfortunately, but we think this is a real opportunity.
I do too. Well, how can they get hold of you and find out more about it? Let me put your contact stuff up there. And
Perfect.
yeah, okay. Here, that's good, and you'll give them everything they need, I guess.
That is correct. So the one thing that I would point you to here is the second to last item on the screen, AgenciesOnline.com.
What is that?
That is a resource that we have developed. It's part of TrustedChoice.com, but it's a resource that we've developed to help agencies with all of this stuff that we've talked about here. And I've got a couple of different articles written on the whole Google situation. If this topic is of interest and you want to dive a little deeper, I go into some detail about how I think Google could play out in the future potentially. We've also got articles on Agency Nation about selling, about marketing your agency, all sorts of good stuff. It's completely no charge, so there's a lot of great information out there. Ryan Hanley, some of your listeners may be familiar with him. Yep. He's got a bunch of articles out there. We do weekly podcasts, so please avail yourself of all that stuff. You can reach out to me on any of these. You can send me an email. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course, you can dial me direct on your mobile phone.
Well, Marty, thank you very much. I think you did a really good overview here. I think everybody in the agency should whoever gets this Monday morning should send this out to everybody in the agency, forward it to them, because this is going to affect everyone, and no question about it. And so I'm glad that you brought us up to date. Put a note to yourself, another 2 or 3 months, let's do it again and find out where they've gone and how it's gone. And I do appreciate it. And I know that all the people who get this, which is now over 30,000 a week, will also do it. And as for the rest of you, we've got some really wonderful people like Marty coming on in the future. By the end of this year, Marty, we're going to have 135 webinars on Monday morning. All recorded.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a large number, isn't it? But it's worth it, because there's some awfully good stuff there. So everybody else, I'll see you next Monday morning.